So we're very excited to do Cooking to Prevent Cancer today with Allison, who's here almost every month for our Food is Medicine. Let me try and bring this down now, see if I stop squeaking. Okay. And Dr. Saigal's here for her second time, so we're excited to have her back. So for those of you that don't know, Allison is a registered dietitian nutritionist and a culinary medicine specialist. It does a lot of plant-forward cooking and lots of wonderful things for us here. So I'll be putting a link in the chat to her newsletter that you'll hear her mentioning often, because you're going to want to get her little gadgets that she always has and all sorts of stuff. Let me see if, we got someone coming in real quick. Right. Come on in.
Hello.
Come on in.
Come on in.
And then Dr. Saigal is here with us as well today. Yeah. We're very excited to have her. She got her medical degree from the University of Maryland. I won't hold the terps against her, but that's okay. But she did do her surgical residency.
Hold the Gators against all of them.
She did do her surgical residency at the University of Pennsylvania, and as a Philadelphian, I need to say go Birds to that. So we're very excited to have her here. And she's with AdventHealth, and so we've had her here before, and it's a wonderful program. We're excited to have her back. Couple housekeeping items. Make sure our cell phones are turned off here in the room. As I mentioned, ask your questions as they come up or wait for the next break. This is very much a casual conversation. It's, as I would say, it's always us ladies around the counter, so we're going to have a good time. And then we're going to all receive a survey at the end of this program, so use that to let us know what you want to see next. Allison and I really do use those. We were just talking about, we're putting our fall ones together right now, so your timing perfect. I know what Tootsie wants, so I've already talked. She's going to tell me again, but it's fine. Tootsie, she can tell you herself, but I know what she wants. So, but we anything that you'd like to see a cooking program, whether it's a specific disease, whether it's a specific ingredient. Is this chickpeas today? Yeah.
Yes.
We've got Katie Farman coming up, is doing a whole class just about chickpeas, which is
cool.
going to be fun.
Nice.
So whether it's a gadget, Allison, we've done some Instant Pot classes, so let us know. We'd love to hear from you. And I'm going to let these guys get started. You'll hear from me again throughout it, but Allison, you want to tell us what we're making today?
Sure, I would love to. Okay, so today it's going to be a plant-powered menu, and for our main entree, we're going to have a lentil chickpea harissa soup. And for our salad, it will be a kale citrus salad, and we are going to be having a yummy, delicious dessert with chocolate mousse, and it's going to be made with some tofu, and we're going to serve it with mixed berries, okay? So I'll let you take over while I start preparing.
Sounds wonderful. So all of these ingredients, I've done this before with Allison, and in my practice as a breast cancer surgeon, it's not just important for me to make sure.
Sorry.
Oh dear. Oh, okay. That's better. I've never needed a microphone in my life.
This one's flipping out. Keep talking. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Right. Better?
Oh, much better.
Okay. Again, as a breast cancer surgeon, it's not just important for me to talk about taking care of yourself, getting your mammograms, breast imaging, and taking care of the actual breast cancer patient, but afterwards. What do I talk to my patients about afterwards? It's about prevention and risk reduction. It's important to recognize that our environment shapes our risk reduction. So food and what we put into our bodies is just as important as getting that mammogram, just as important as seeing your physicians on a regular basis and your screening colonoscopies, anything that talks about screening. It's not just the medicines that we put into our bodies, but the food. I can't emphasize enough in my daily practice. If I have 35 patients, I say it 35 times a day. What you put into your body is how your body will respond to your cancer risk prevention. I have someone here who is living proof of that. Jane, would you like to introduce yourself?
And while you're miking, I'm going to talk about the ingredients and what I'm preparing right now. So to make the soup, I'm going to put saute the onions, celery, carrots, and red peppers over medium heat. I'm using olive oil, and I love this gadget because it pre-measures the amount of olive oil on the top, so you're not like messing up and getting other measuring cups dirty and stuff like that. So I'm going to be sauteing these over medium-high heat, cooking for about 5 to 7 minutes, and then we're going to add our spices. So
let's talk about the veggies that are going in here. Every little thing has nutritional value in that. That's carrots, vitamin A, fiber. There's sugar in carrots, but that sugar your body recognizes as something that it extracts nutrition from. Remember, our bodies need protein, they need carbohydrates, and they need fat. All three of those elements are required by our body. So this concept, oh, I can't have fat, it has to be low fat, it has to be low carb, I disagree. I think what it should be is what's good carbs, what is a good fat, and what's a good protein versus what is a bad protein, what is a bad fat, and what is a bad sugar.
Right.
And so, you know, beef jerky, it's fortified with tons of preservatives to keep that protein okay to eat.
Yeah,
At
shelf-stable
7-Eleven
meat,
for 6 years.
I know. Shelf-stable meat just kind of grosses me out. Yeah.
Think about that. We don't know when and how
I call
and
it
where.
Frankenfood.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's Frankenfood.
Where
Yes.
was that created? I don't know,
A
and
lab.
I can't tell you when it was created, but I can tell you when this sugar was made, right? This carrot, these veggies. So they pack all of this nutrition, and they're fresh. There's no expiration date because you know when a carrot turns bad. You leave it on your fridge. You don't have to have a stamp to tell you this is going bad.
Right.
And that's how I think about food, is I know that all of these ingredients, I don't need the USDA, I don't need the FDA to tell me that this is going to go bad.
Right.
My eyes will tell me, the way it looks will tell me, and that's important to
That is
remember.
so true. Yes, whole food. This is truly whole food. And color. Color is so incredibly important for phytonutrients, those phytochemicals, those plant compounds that are in these beautiful whole foods.
Right.
So food should go bad, right? If food is not going bad, that's a problem,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
My name is Jane Williams. I'm a functional nutritionist, actually, and my focus is on gut health. My dear friend, Dr. Saigal, invited me here today, and I know Allison very well as well. We share a love of food and health and all things. And Dr. Saigal also happens to be my breast surgeon. I actually underwent a preventative bilateral mastectomy with direct reconstruction this past August. So I am now about 8 months out of surgery. And I wanted to share a little bit about my story today and my practice around functional nutrition, and, you know, obviously
Smells
lend
amazing.
anything that I can to this amazing conversation and amazing food that we're going to be having today, in hopes that I will empower all of you and all of you that are on Zoom with us today to really focus on your health. And not just that, but to empower you to ask questions and do your research, which having incredible physicians and nutritionists in support of your everyday health is so important. So that is why I'm here today. So my story, really quickly, I'll keep it quick because the food is cooking, is that I have a very, number one, my family history is incredibly, unfortunately, dense with breast cancer. I use the word dense, you'll hear that a couple of times. But my grandmother, my mom, and my aunt were all diagnosed with breast cancer. So I knew kind of walking into my 30s, I'm 48 years old, by the way, but into my 30s, that was something that I was gonna have to focus on and get early mammograms. Come to find out, I also had very dense breast tissue. I guess on the density chart, I was kind of off the charts.
Off the charts.
Right, and approximately 50% of women do have dense breast tissue. So that was also something I really had going for me, but so many of us do. So I was very cognizant of that. Over the years, I tended to be a little bit of a pin cushion, and thankfully, each of the pins went in and everything was okay. But I was very cognizant, and obviously, you know, being very focused on health, studying nutrition, that was incredibly important to me. Diet, exercise, sleep, stress levels, all of those pieces are incredibly important, right, to lifestyle. So long short of it, I had a mammogram, my annual mammogram. Please go for your annual mammograms, everyone. This past March, and it showed again a little bit of something that, you know, needed to be biopsied. It was biopsied. It was brought back that it was not cancerous, but it was something that, you know, we should definitely get taken out.
Yep.
So that is where I met Dr. Saigal.
And then we came up with the plan. We then had some unexpected results, and from those unexpected findings, we decided, based on the family history, that we would proceed with a risk-reducing bilateral nipple-sparing mastectomy.
Yes.
And then Jane, afterwards, realized that she now needs to really, you already focused on nutrition. You've already been working with, you know Allison, you know the Wellness Center, but talking really about how nutrition not only is cancer prevention, but how it heals during surgery, in the post-surgical period. So you may never be afflicted with breast cancer, and as a breast cancer specialist, nutrition also helps with healing for everything.
And disease
whatever
prevention.
surgery you may have, whatever your future health ailments may be, any unexpected surprises, if you treat your body properly now, your future, whatever may hold, your outcome will be 10 times better. The fiber, the sugar, the proteins, and these fresh elements, these fresh foods that we're incorporating feeds the natural environment in your body that your body needs. And it's all about anti-inflammatory.
Yes.
That's right.
Exactly.
I'm so glad you said that.
Yes.
Inflammation is the root cause to disease.
Yes.
That is the bottom line. So that we can have control over our inflammatory response in our bodies through proper nutrition, proper sleep, proper stress reduction. All of those pieces are so incredibly important to our overall health. And we have control over that.
Yeah.
That's one thing that you do have control,
Yep.
right?
And
Allison, you've got
yes.
tons of anti-inflammatory ingredients
Yes.
in all 3 of the dishes that you're making
Right,
today.
and that's why I chose these recipes, because I wanted to have a lot of different colors, a lot of different vegetables, and plant-based ingredients, because we know that if we're eating 30 different plants in a week, it's really good for our gut microbiome. That's the bacteria in our guts that helps to prevent disease. It's like considered like our second brain. It affects like our mood, our skin, diabetes reduction of obesity. And when you're thinking about plant-based ingredients, your spices and herbs count for that as well. And so
That's a great point
good
right there,
segue
Allison. I forgot
to-
about that.
Good segue to
Superfoods.
my ingredients. And now when you're using your herbs that you have, that maybe you got for your bridal shower that is in a fancy thing, it's time to replace them, because they do go bad after 6 months to a year.
What's that? What's that?
This is cumin.
Oh, okay.
I added oregano
Good.
first. Those spices go bad after about 6 months to a year. So if you're cooking for one, which I get a lot of people tend to be cooking for 1 or 2, you might want to get smaller sizes.
Don't buy in bulk.
Right, don't go to Costco or Sam's. And then you want to, like some of those stores, you can buy small little baggies of it. So you may not even know if you like a spice, so buy a smaller amount. So here we have some chili powder and some cinnamon.
Cinnamon reduces blood sugar.
Yep.
Yes, decreases.
Cinnamon decreases
Yep.
naturally blood sugar, and it helps your pancreas do its job by extracting the sugar from your blood and keeping levels low. So it's something that's super important.
Yep.
And then I see my
Turmeric.
favorite.
Gosh.
Turmeric is a great anti-inflammatory ingredient, and it pairs great with pepper. It helps it work better. So when you're having turmeric, you can add turmeric to a lot of different dishes, but you want to make sure you add some pepper to that as well.
Turmeric has an active compound in it called curcumin.
Yes.
So sometimes, I don't know if you've ever seen supplements, the turmeric supplements, a lot of them are called curcumin. You want to make sure, if you're looking for a supplement like that, or like Allison just said, you want to make sure you include
Smells so
pepper.
good, Allison.
You can use different kinds of
Just
pepper,
one-
but it
You
will
hungry?
actually make it more bioactive in your body,
Okay.
which is really important. You want that better absorption rate, because that will actually lower your inflammation levels in your body. So.
Are all forms of cinnamon equally?
I believe so. I mean, I like simplicity when it comes to cooking, because I don't have the bandwidth to be complex. I already have a busy schedule with work. I have 3 little boys. I can only do so many things, so I keep it really simple. I cook pretty much every day at home in general, and I try to come up with recipes that are simple, that are satisfying. My boys asked me yesterday, I came home at 6:15. Mom, what's for dinner? And I said, well, I'm making kidney bean stew. And they were like, oh. And they're like, well, we really want that. We don't want food from the outside. They don't like.
I love that.
They don't like food from. I mean, they're okay with Chick-fil-A. I call them Chick-fil-A-tarians, but I'm vegetarian. I'm vegetarian, and so for me, cooking a nutritious meal at home, they don't get the joint pains. They don't feel the belly pain the next day, and they know, it's all done. But it's important to recognize that all these small things that you do, these recipes here, created on a Sunday so that you can have for Monday, come up with a different way to reuse the foods that you're making. I do that all the time. I cook on Sundays in bulk.
I love that.
I do have 3 boys. I'm learning that may not last me until Tuesday again.
Yeah.
So I may have to
How
revamp.
big are your pots?
Bigger than that.
And I love
Bigger
that
than
you
that.
mentioned repurposing your leftovers
Yes.
because I hate eating the same thing over and over and over again. So I love to repurpose
Right.
them into something different and exciting, and that helps the family eat more
Yes.
of what I'm cooking.
Again, then it minimizes processed foods because you know this was made at home. You control the salt that you're putting in there,
The oils.
the salt, the
That's
oils,
another big piece.
the ingredients. You know that you're incorporating fiber, fresh produce, and you can make sure that it's controlled. Outside food, these processed elements, if you take a look at a nutrition label, and do this, try this. Look at a nutrition label and you'll see that the first couple of ingredients may be an actual food that you can grow in your backyard. But then if you have 10 other ingredients, they're chemicals.
Yeah.
A preservative is defined as something that helps keep the shelf life of an element longer than an expected time frame.
Yes.
What is cancer? Cancer is a preservation of a cell. So if those chemicals are preserving your food and they get into your body, did you know that your gut harbors the largest set of lymph nodes? So can you imagine if you're putting chemicals into your body and where do they go? They go into your gut. Your gut is the first place that your body is looking at those chemicals. It's an abnormal chemical. It's an abnormal, your body doesn't recognize it as something that it can use, so it wages a war. Your immune system in your gut, your IgE goes up. All of those lymph nodes are like, well, wait a minute, this is not normal. This is why a lot of us, if you think back to the 1950s, 1960s, we didn't really have a lot of GI issues. There were very few allergies. There were very few issues.
Autoimmune.
Yes, there was very few autoimmune processes, but now we're coming across all of these autoimmune dysfunctions. And I'm not saying all autoimmune dysfunctions are related to processed foods. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that our propensity has increased because we have now become a society where everything is based on ease and simplicity. Ease.
Yeah.
Let's just reheat it, put it in the microwave, but those chemicals are what's causing this inflammatory imbalance in our gut. When that imbalance happens, it can rage
Right.
a systemic response.
And,
And so that's important to recognize.
And those processed foods, they're stripping out all the good stuff.
Yeah.
And if you see enriched on the label, that means they're adding in some vitamins and minerals. I would rather just have it, the whole grain so I can have the whole nutrients from how it's meant to be eaten versus it being processed so it's shelf stable so the food manufacturers can make more money.
Yes.
Right.
I wanted
They
to
can
point
sell
out,
more.
Yeah. I wanted to point out an ingredient. This is the harissa sauce. It comes in mild and spicy. You find it in the international section of the grocery store. It's Moroccan red pepper sauce. Ooh. And I also chose the sprouted green lentils because it's quicker to cook. So if you don't want to cook for an hour, if you want to have a quicker cooking lentil, it's also, your body's able to absorb the nutrients from it better as well. And this is just organic sprouted green lentils. This recipe that you'll see, there was cilantro and lemon in it. The cilantro looked terrible at the grocery store, and I'm like, forget it. I'm just not going to include the cilantro. Plus, some people don't like the taste of cilantro, and the lemon was to help preserve the color of the cilantro, so I'm eliminating that. But if you're a cilantro lover and you can find some good cilantro in the store, then by all means add it. And that's another point I want to make out. A lot of these recipes, they're meant to be used as a template, unless it's something I'm baking. So if you don't like an ingredient, say you don't like chickpeas, leave them out. Maybe add a different bean to it. You don't have to follow it to a T. So, and with the salad, if you have I'm going to be using some grapefruit and apple on it. If you don't like those, put some berries. You can just change it up and add different things. Okay. Okay.
Just follow the basic rules, as
Right.
Allison was saying. Just because the recipe calls for a sprouted lentil, and if you don't have it, what do you have in your pantry that could mimic that?
Right.
I always have canned kidney beans in my pantry, always. I have that. I always have canned garbanzo beans. I cook a lot of Indian food, so I rely on my Instant Pot quite a bit, and I'm vegetarian.
Yeah.
So I use a lot of beans on a regular basis, and it's a common misconception that if you're vegetarian, you are adequate, you're not adequately getting your protein levels. I'm alive and well at 44. I'm pretty sure I'm getting my nutrition. And so is my family. My whole
need to move
family
this
is
over.
completely vegetarian.
Yeah, if you could help move this
Let me
over
just
there.
take a quick moment while we're rearranging over here. Two things. If there's a question in the nutrition theater, if you three wouldn't mind repeating it into the microphone so the folks at home could hear.
Not a
Yes.
problem.
And I do have a question from someone at home, and it goes exactly with what you were just talking about. Erin was asking if it's important to pair the food so the body gets the right nutrition.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But
In a day.
In a day.
It
doesn't
used
have
to be at the same meal, which was
Right.
so stressful. But they found that it's in the 24-hour period that that is just fine.
As a practice, I like to say you want to make sure you have protein, fat, and carbs at every meal. And obviously that includes fiber. Fiber is incredibly important to make sure that you have it on your plate, in your smoothie, at every single meal. So that's a little tip, just to make sure that
And if you
have it.
can't, don't stress out. We are on the go. A lot of us have busy lifestyles. I did not get my protein in this morning because I was rushing to the operating room to make sure I could be here for something that I really, really wanted to make sure I would be able to participate with. But again, it's a balance. So I look at my day and say, okay, it's busy. I'm not going to stress out about what I could not do. I'm going to focus on what I can do when I have the time this evening and tonight and properly nourish my body. So it's a balance.
Yeah.
And if you make people feel like they have to do something, no one will do it.
Right.
I'm those busy days. What's your view about the various? We know that one, right?
So I look at the ingredients. Again, the protein bars, the protein shakes. I'm sure these two wonderful experts in nutrition can talk about that. I personally, when I look at an ingredients list, if I see that it's too long, I don't like it. And I do not like any fake sugars.
Right.
I don't like sweet and low. I do not like
Aspartame. Yeah.
I don't like, what is the other one, the Splenda?
Splenda?
Absolutely not. You can grow stevia in your garden. That to me is a
I
little
like
bit
stevia.
different than
Yeah.
the stevia in the packets, but be careful when you're reading. You don't want any added preservatives on the back. And formaldehyde is commonly
Yeah.
is commonly used in those sugars to keep them okay to eat.
Yeah.
Formaldehyde.
Yeah.
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 I think monk fruit is okay
I like
as
monk
well.
fruit.
I like
I
monk
like-
fruit. Yeah.
Yeah. I like
Yeah.
stevia leaf and monk fruit is what I like.
Monk fruit, people tend to have less GI side effects as well. The way that it processes through your digestive tract is different. So some people tend to have a little headache piece around monk fruit that I've seen, but more than not, monk fruit is easy to digest.
It's just simmering.
So
yeah.
that's a good sugar alternative, and it won't affect
You're hungry.
your blood
I'm
sugar.
hungry, and this smells amazing, Allison.
This is incredible. You're getting your protein.
I'm going to get
Oh,
my
yeah,
protein.
you're gonna get your protein.
Yep, I'm
Yep.
going to get my protein. I'm going to get my fiber. My body will not have an anti-inflammatory response to natural foods.
Right.
The cinnamon will reduce my sugar levels. As soon as it spikes, the cinnamon will help calm it down. And then the turmeric reduces inflammation in general.
Yep.
You know, a lot of people want to take pills as supplements. I tell my patients, try cooking first because
Yeah.
your body's able to extract that far easier
Yep.
and more efficiently.
And I hear from a lot of my clients that they say cooking is hard, or I don't have time, I don't know how to cook. And yes, cooking is hard, but it's just following directions. And when I get the kitchen messy, I'm gonna make a double batch and I'm gonna freeze it. So when I make soups and stuff like this at home, I will freeze it in like one of those big muffin tins, and then once it's frozen, I pop it out and then I put it in a Ziploc baggie and put that in the freezer. I know one of those muffins is about a little serving of a soup. Maybe I'll put 2 in there to have a meal out of it. And so that, use your freezer as your friend. I love going to the farmer's market, and I always buy way too much.
with you.
And I'm like, okay, what can I use this before it goes bad? So like, you can freeze grape tomatoes, and then whenever I roast my veggies, I'll throw some frozen grape tomatoes on the baking pan, and I wouldn't like put it on a salad because the texture's different, but it like, the juices come out, and it's just absolutely delicious. I will freeze zucchini and cauliflower and then use that instead of ice cubes in my shake. And that's a way to get another vegetable, more fiber in, and you don't taste it. It's like creamy, delicious. I actually had it this morning. And so any fruits that's gonna go bad, chop that up. Even, I had strawberries, and I could tell, I was clearly busy because I threw the whole strawberries in with the tops and all. But I knew I cleaned it, but the tops aren't gonna hurt me, so into my smoothie they go. It's fine. So use your freezer as your friend, especially if you're cooking for 1 or 2 people. You're not gonna wanna eat the same thing every single day. Maybe you do, but I personally don't. It's great to freeze it that way when you are busy and coming home at 6:15 at night from a long day of work, you've got something that you can eat and serve your family.
And I don't know about you, but in a pinch, you can always buy frozen vegetables.
Absolutely.
I recommend buying organic if you're going to do that. The reason why, with nothing else in them, so be a good label reader.
Yeah.
You want to turn it around, just make sure it's just the broccoli that's in there.
Yeah.
But then they freeze them at their peak, right? They're being picked at their peak, they're being frozen at their peak, and we've got some great methods now, I'm sure Allison does too, on how you can just roast the veggies. You actually put them in an oven 400 degrees, you roast them for 10 minutes, you put nothing on them, then you take them out. That's when you put a little olive oil, a little avocado oil, you put some sea salt, some pepper, and then you stick them back in and you roast them up. And I gotta tell you, they're fantastic.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
Yes.
And you can do that with all frozen veggies. So if you don't have access to fresh veggies, if nothing's looking good at the store, you can do the frozen veggie piece and reap the benefits.
And I love doing that for like when I'm traveling and just coming back in town, no time to go to the grocery store. I've got my frozen veggies already ready to go. I wanted to point out, I'm going to use kale for our salad because it's a cruciferous vegetable, and it's very good for cancer prevention. You can get kale in many different ways. So I like it pre-cut for convenience. But if you notice, they don't like take the stem out, so it's annoying. And so I'm going to show you how easy it is to just de-stem it. You just go like that. And so then I will chop that up. We do compost here. We use, what is the company called? O-Town Compost. So they pick up all of our compost and help make good soil.
And kale is incredibly anti-inflammatory.
Yes.
Incredibly anti-inflammatory. It is an incredible a component for packing on fiber. And it takes the flavor of what you are cooking, so it doesn't steal or take away from anything. So I will at times put kale like this into my Indian lentils that I'm making, and it does not take away from what I'm already making. It just adds the fiber into it and makes it a little bit more filling, so I don't reach for the rice.
Yeah.
I'm a rice lover.
Yeah. I could add kale to the salad if I wanted to.
Or into the soup.
Yeah.
And so remember, you have to use things that are purposeful, and I always have them in my fridge so I can repurpose them.
Yeah.
That makes for my life to be easier. If I have leftover rice for the boys and there's just not enough for me, I'll have kale and I'll incorporate that into the lentil soup, and I'm not reaching for the carbs that aren't giving me any nutritious value.
Yes, and with these bagged salads, you could put them right in the freezer and use it for smoothies and stir fries. Sometimes in the morning I'll want to make like a egg stir fry, and I'll just look at what veggies I've already frozen that are chopped up, and I'll just throw it on the skillet. Perfect.
So
and
good.
You could do it with tofu if you don't eat eggs.
So Allison mentioned that is a cruciferous vegetable. So is broccoli, so is cauliflower. Cruciferous vegetables actually contain a compound called sulforaphane, and that is actually a phytonutrient that will actually help reduce cancer risk. It's been proven in studies to reduce inflammatory response in your body. So it's a really good vegetable to make sure series of vegetables to get into your
Can help
daily
with that.
diet.
Question in the chat: Is
If you
arugula
want.
as good as kale?
Okay, dig
I'll
in.
wash my hands, yep.
I think
Allison?
so.
I didn't hear what you
Is
said.
arugula as good as kale?
They're all
Health
good.
benefits wise.
They're all great.
Yeah.
They all have
Brussels
different
sprouts are
benefits.
cruciferous. Yes.
Absolutely.
I love arugula.
Oh my gosh.
I grew it in my tower garden at home.
I try to keep things simple. If it's fresh, it can't be bad for you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If it's
Yeah.
green, colorful, and it's coming from the garden, it can't be bad for you. It's
Right.
coming from the earth.
Right.
Use what you love to eat, and it'll make your meals easier to prep. It'll make it easier for your family to enjoy. My boys, every day after school, we have air fryer. We have fresh broccoli, the little packets that Allison was talking about, and we roast it, and then they just want a little bit of olive oil
Yeah.
So good.
and salt and pepper.
So
and
good.
I'm going through more broccoli with my 3 boys than I am any other vegetable.
That is amazing.
That is great.
I love
Any other vegetable.
the charred eggs.
Yes,
Ooh,
the charred,
so good.
They love it, and they ask for it. They ask when they come home from school. They ask for their broccoli, their carrots. Now, they are growing boys, 9, 11, and 8, I think. But they also want their potato chips. They want a little bit of the junk food. Everything in moderation. Remember, we all have children. If we keep them away from those things, the candies, the chips, when they go to a birthday party, your child will be the one that's bouncing off the walls
Yes.
and saying, I want all of that soda. My kids will go to a birthday party, and they're the ones that say, I don't want that big piece. I just want a little piece.
Wow.
Because their body knows balance.
That's amazing.
When they go and they want soda, I don't allow soda in our house.
Yeah, me neither.
If we go to a party and if I tell them they can't have that, they want more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
true.
we go now and they'll have just a little bit, and they're the ones whose cup is still half full.
Yeah.
So their body is saying a little bit is fine, but we don't like the way it makes us feel. They're not even thinking about it. They're just not eating it.
Right.
And can we just talk for a minute how fortunate we are to live in Florida?
Oh,
Let's talk
gosh.
about that for a minute, because right now we have access
dig in.
to the most beautiful local produce. We have such incredible farmers markets. Do any of you go to farmers markets? Yeah? I'm
I
sure
do
people
not.
on the Zoom, you
Oh,
can
I
reply
love
too.
it.
That would be awesome. Yeah, so we have access to these amazing markets right now, and in season is such beautiful produce. Broccoli is in season right now. So when you can buy your produce local, guess what? Your nutrient
Thank
intake,
you.
your nutrient
Welcome.
value in that particular
gonna
food is going
taste it.
straight up. So when we can do that, when we are able to do that, please do that. And I always do that in the grocery store too, because a lot of our grocery stores do have local produce. So I always look at the label to see where
Another
is this
can.
from? Is this from Florida? Is it from Georgia? That's not too far away. Versus Peru, versus Mexico, all of those places. So when you can buy closer to where you're at, that nutrient value goes way up.
And
Yeah.
I want to point something out. This recipe, it's been what, 20 minutes?
Yeah.
And it smells like this has been cooking for hours, and it smells incredible.
So good.
Fresh
And it's almost
food-
done, and that's a
Yeah.
quick meal.
Fresh food will smell and taste far better than anything that you can get that's peel and heat in the microwave.
Right.
Now, I did try one of those meal delivery services for the fresh veggies.
Uh-huh.
I disliked it so much.
Why? Because it was the
Bland.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I said, what am I doing? This is what I normally would cook on the stove. I'm like, this is not for me.
Yeah.
I tried it one time, and I was not, the flavor wasn't there. It did not smell like this, I can tell you that. But I was getting busy, and I was getting a little frustrated with how my schedule was a little bit too much. I tried it, and I'm back. I'm back to my Instant Pot.
Yeah.
I'm back to this. And again, remember, in life, it's a balance. You're going to have some busier times, sometimes where you feel like everything is in control,
Yes.
right? But at the end of the day, try to make
Oil.
sure that you can do
this.
and put nourishment
I'll
into
tell you
your
guys
body.
Okay, so I just wanted to point out this little cool gadget that's one of my new favorite. It's my oil dispenser, and when you can put whatever oil you want in it. This is olive oil, and when you can squeeze it to measure out how
That's
much.
so cool.
I know. You can do a teaspoon, a tablespoon. It's amazing. And then, so I put a little bit of oil on the kale, and I'm going to massage it. and give a little beauty treatment here. And the reason why I'm doing that is it's going to help it not be as stiff. It's going to break down the fiber so it's not so bitter and hard. You'll also see that the colors just get very vibrant. So when you go to a restaurant, these are hard to get on. No, that's okay. I'll eventually get there. But my Lanta, I think my fingers were wet or something. But so here I am massaging the kale, and you'll see that it gets really bright. So when you're going to a restaurant, likely you've had a massage kale salad. After I was on vacation, I was going through the airport at Miami, and I was craving vegetables. You know how when you eat on the road, you probably aren't getting as many?
Don't you love that you crave vegetables?
Yeah.
I love that.
So I'm like, I want veggies. So I found a restaurant that had a kale salad. I was like, awesome. It wasn't massaged. And it had little hard parts, and I was just so critical about it. So I was really excited when I came home.
Massage kale is happy kale.
Yes.
But remember,
And you want to eat happy kale.
Yeah.
This is something that's important because most people think, okay, I can just open it up and put it on my plate, and whatever dressing I add is going to make it taste amazing.
Right.
Then we add more dressing because it doesn't have that sort of the breakdown of the fibers. So this is just a simple way to take
Right.
not even
And then we're
5
eating
minutes
more
to do
oils
it.
than we are enjoying the whole food.
Right.
Yeah.
You needed to have an acid in there.
I'm going to be adding the grapefruit and the grapefruit juice from it. So I segmented the grapefruit, so it's going to all go in there. Yeah, and the dressing that I put on it also has orange juice in it as the acid.
I had a question for you too. I noticed that you put olive oil on before you massaged. Now I typically just massage, but is it better to put the olive oil on first?
I liked it because it just makes it softer, makes it more vibrant.
That's good.
So
Okay.
yeah.
And I think you
Great
use
tip.
less. You use less olive oil. You use less dressing when you can actually coat it and mix it properly when you're massaging it. So I have found
Yeah.
that actually makes it, instead of using a significant amount of oil, because if you just drizzle it on and then you use your tongs, you're not getting it onto every crevice. But if you use even less and you use your hands to massage it, you're using less, but it's coating everything, and it's not overpowering, and you use less.
So Jane, you're saying you actually massage it without?
That's typically how I've done it, but I think Allison just gave me a great tip. I'm going to start doing that. So yeah, typically I'll massage it first, and then I'll make my little dressing, or I'll just put it on my plate, and then I'll put just a little bit of olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, unrefined, on the top of it with a little bit of sea salt, and that's my dressing. But I think that's great. That's a
And
great
sometimes
tip.
I'll make the dressing first and massage with the dressing. So I didn't want to add a bunch of, I like to give you guys the dressing yourself to, I hate it when people
Yes.
put dressing on my salad.
I agree.
Yeah.
I was just about to
I
say
hate
that.
it.
I hate it. I am not a dressing person.
I'm
I
like,
do not do any
yeah.
dressing.
I'm like,
Don't be
please-
dressing my salad.
Yeah,
I'll
I like to
dress
dress my salad.
I am not a dressing person. Again,
Yeah.
people also will go to restaurants, they will go to the airport and
Yes.
think that it's okay, and you'll get this much kale, but this much
Oh.
of a ranch dressing that was made in Minnesota
Yeah.
3 years ago.
Yes.
And then it has
In a
enough
vat.
preservatives.
With
and then
bad
it's put-
oils.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
And then they just drizzle it on there because they're masking whatever it is that they want.
Right.
I pick on Minnesota, but it could be anywhere. My point is, it's made somewhere else at a time frame that you do not know.
Yes.
And then
Correct.
it's shipped somewhere by someone in a truck from
And
some
don't
place.
be afraid to ask for what you want, especially
Absolutely.
in a restaurant. Right?
Absolutely.
We need to speak up. This is our health.
And look at the menu in advance whenever you can, and
Yes.
have a game plan going in.
So good.
And you can pick and choose from different dishes. Like say you like this one salad, but you like the toppings from another salad. You could ask. They have it all in the kitchen. Just ask what you want. And I like to suggest ordering first, so you're not tempted by your friend that's like, I want this big, fried, juicy, whatever, you know? Maybe you could be the role model to your friends getting a delicious, plant-forward, beautiful colored
That's
dish,
so good.
you know? I'm using grapefruit as the citrus because of its cancer prevention properties, and also I want to show you how to segment it. So I took all the skin out, and I'm just going to slice the membrane in between the membranes and get the segments out, all right? And then I will cut it into bite-sized pieces and scrape it with my bench scraper off of the cutting board to put into my, it's kind of a little bit messy and bougie, but you'll appreciate it when you have it on your plate.
And again, the grapefruit has tons of vitamin C.
Whoops.
It
And
has fiber inherently in the actual fruit, which helps increase the fiber content of that salad and anti-inflammatory again.
I love grapefruit.
I think our last time that we did this, we talked about, Allison actually brought up a really great point about how natural occurring foods have all the elements that you need. An avocado, is fat, but it also has tons of fiber that counters that fat, and your body then is able to balance it out and use all the nutrients from that avocado, even though it's high in fat. But it's a good fat that your body recognizes as a natural fat that it requires. The fiber balances it out.
There's 7 grams of fiber in an avocado.
Right.
It's like
And-
That's so
amazing.
delicious.
And sometimes is there a question?
Yes, actually, about the grapefruit.
Yeah.
Somebody asked if there's an issue between cholesterol medications and grapefruit.
There are some issues with blood thinners and also with grapefruit. So please, before you synthroid medications, and there's a few other.
Is anybody here not able to have grapefruit? Because I will I'll make a separate little thing for you.
She does that really well.
Yes. So be mindful of that, and instead of using grapefruit, maybe you can use a different type of citrus that you like as well. I know my
Orange.
children may not like grapefruit because it's a little bit tart. We may use oranges instead on the salad. Actually, my kids like everything separate. They want their veggies separate. They want their
Right.
fruit separate.
Yep.
Right.
So make it so that it's easy for your family.
Right. And I'm going to be adding also edamame on here because I wanted us to talk about
Yes,
soy,
yes.
because soy is a food item that everyone's terrified of. So,
No need to be terrified.
okay,
Whoa.
let's talk.
So
Yes.
It was frozen. It came in this little baggie. I used 2 of them. And I love this because I can just thaw it out with hot water in a strainer or in the refrigerator overnight. It's a great way to add extra protein to any dish. I could add it to a soup. I could add it to a salad. I could just eat it as a snack. I've roasted these, and it tastes like roasted peanuts.
So good.
It's like amazing. Chickpeas are also another really yummy thing to roast as well. So whenever I heat the oven up to roast a vegetable or a dish, I'm likely roasting some chickpeas as well. I'll use those as my croutons.
Yes.
I put them on the counter, and my husband will grab them like they're nuts. So I like nuts, but my husband can eat a whole bag of nuts in one sitting, like legit.
They
I'm
turn
like,
into candy. It's
Totally.
dangerous.
On road trips, he
Yeah.
pulls it from 7-Eleven. Of course, they have some M&Ms and
Yes.
raisins in them too, and he eats the whole thing. And I'm like, no. So
I hide mine.
yeah.
So as you dive into soy, the specific question was, is there a certain amount or limit that you should worry about?
No, there is not. I believe in moderation, and I use simple examples in our world to help recognize the myths. If we look at countries where soy is a major product of their daily diet, you would assume that if soy was such a heavy part of their daily diet, that they would have, those countries would have a higher rate of cancers. And
Right.
I'm using, China, Japan, Singapore, where soy products are consumed on a regular basis, almost on a regular meal. They do not have higher rates of cancers than the United States of America.
They actually have lower.
They have lower rates.
amazing.
So if a country whose main product is incorporated heavily into their normal day-to-day, they use soy products on a regular basis. Why is it that in our country we have such a stigmata against soy? It doesn't make any sense.
I think is it because
Well,
so
because
much of
I
the
have
processed
thoughts too.
soy.
Well, that's
that's
right.
the problem.
So the difference
yeah.
is the difference is we're not talking about the chemicals that are and the processed elements of soy. We're talking about soy in general. Soy in general is not bad for you. Soy in general does not give you breast cancer, and if you've had breast cancer, you do not need to worry about soy as a part of your diet. But I do believe in
Hear
moderation.
that? That's the biggest thing
Yes.
I hear.
Right.
I can't have soy because I have breast cancer.
Correct.
Yeah, I had breast cancer, and I was told that it was estrogen receptive, it never touched.
Absolutely
Yeah.
incorrect.
So I guess that's been disproven.
Right.
but I
It
think
has been
I don't know.
disproven because I think that a lot of those theories from long time ago didn't think about general things like Well, why would, if breast cancer was caused by soy or it can cause that, then why would those countries that have a higher propensity to use soy in their day-to-day life, why do they not have a higher rate of breast cancer? It's simple.
Does soy have estrogen?
Soy is a phytoestrogen. So it's a phytoestrogen. It does not give your body cancer. It does not cause breast cancer. In fact, it's almost like blocking your cells from being able to use the bad estrogen or the bad chemicals and bind to that. So don't think of it as a cancer-causing element. Think of it as it's a phytoestrogen. A lot of foods have estrogen. Flax seeds and chia seeds have estrogen, but you really have to eat a lot of that Monday through Sunday in potfuls to get that kind of, not a daily proportion, or eating soy in the avocado and the mousse that we're making, I think the dessert that we're making today. Think about the moderate. But you know what I also find very interesting is that the same individual will tell me that soy is bad for you, but then they will happily take hormone replacement therapy for symptoms of menopause.
Yeah.
And that's because it was prescribed and it's in a tablet form, therefore it must be good for me.
Right.
But I'm not going to have the soy tofu stir fry because that may cause breast cancer. That's the juxtaposition here.
I know in older studies too, the phytoestrogens, the chemical makeup of a phytoestrogen looks a lot like estrogen. So that's why so many old studies believed that soy, because of the way that it's actually chemically, built, that it would do the same in the body. But we've learned that, there's alpha receptors and there's beta receptors.
There's so many.
And with the beta receptors, that's actually what the type of phytoestrogen will actually attract to. Now, beta receptors in the body actually are cancer reducing agents. So that is why it's so important. Soy actually protects our body against cancer, whole food soy. So that's what,
again, it goes
so
back to
remarkable.
nutrition. And I like simplicity in my explanations, right? Tell me why all these countries, oh wow, pomegranates. This salad looks amazing.
Yes. I wanted to point out this kitchen gadget I use. Previously, I used to feel like I had to prep at home and cut everything. It would take me hours to do these to prepare for these classes. I'm like, you know what? No, I'm totally using this thing. I found it at Aldi, and I need to get a new one because I've used it so much. But it comes in different sizes. You can do a medium dice, small dice. You can spiralize. On my Amazon store that I have, we'll be sending out in an email. If you opt into my email list, you can find all these kitchen gadgets there. So I like to chop my vegetables using that. This also had pomegranate seeds as an ingredient or craisins. So I brought the craisins. I'm not a huge fan of using this all the time because it's got a lot of sugar. So I went this morning, because I love you all, to the grocery store. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to find pomegranate seeds, but I hope they taste good because they're a little bit not as vibrant in color, but I think that it's better than the sugary craisins.
And pomegranates have a ton of antioxidants.
Yes.
It is it's chock full of antioxidants. And remember, this whole conversation about food as nutrition, the main theme should be anti-inflammatory, natural anti-inflammatory, nourishing meals that tailor to your environment, your internal environment, and it keeps those cells in balance.
What about different kinds of oils?
that's a good question.
I like using
So glad you asked that because we have a question from home. The question is about different kinds of oils, and to further expand, we get this question every cooking class. Oil has become the demon in cooking. So can you talk about extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, other oils?
I personally like avocado oil and extra virgin olive oil because it has a high smoke point, omega-3 fatty acids. And when you're looking at oils, fat's not bad. I mean, I went to college and graduated in 96, so I'm aging myself. And, but it was the Snackwells days. You remember the Snackwells, fat-free everything?
Yes.
I went to college and I'm like, I can't gain the freshman 15. I was like this big, so I ate no fat. I gained 15 pounds because you're eating all these fillers and carbs and other things that they're putting in to take away the fat. So fat helps you absorb your fat-soluble vitamins, your vitamins A, D, E, and K. Those are powerful antioxidants. They help build your bones. They help clot your blood. So fat is not the villain.
No,
but
it
you
is
want to be
not.
careful about the types of fats. So I prefer the avocado oil and olive oil. Now, if you go to the grocery store and you're looking at the salad dressing aisle, 90% of those are made with inflammatory fats.
Yeah.
Even, I hate to say it out loud, a pea restaurant that is convenient for healthy salads and soups makes it their salad dressing with canola oil. I was so excited to see it in the grocery store. I'm like, score! And then I'm like, it's like, I don't want that one.
And remember, when we're talking about convenience, they may be using and altering what they may use when they're making it at the restaurant, but for shelf life, they may use something that is able to have a longer shelf life or is cheaper to get because it's cheaper
Oh, that's
to
a good
make
point.
in a
Yes.
bulk
Yes. When I was,
environment,
Yeah,
right?
I've had
Canola
to
oil is cheaper than extra virgin olive oil.
Yes.
So
I
it's
had to
easier
take-
have at the restaurant.
Yeah, I had to take a food chemistry class at UF, and our lab, we tested out a chain restaurant that has the name Olive in it, their salad dressing, to see how much olive oil is in it. Yeah, to see how much olive oil was in the salad dressing. There was little to none. It was all inflammatory oils, and I'm like, that's so defeating. You know, you think you're getting this healthy one. So now that salad dressing's on BOGO this week, so I wouldn't recommend you buy it. But I did see it on BOGO. I'm like, So,
Here's
all right.
a little tip too when you're looking for like avocado oil. Sometimes they put avocado oil on the label, but if you turn it around and you actually look at the ingredients, guess what? It has more than avocado oil in it. So be mindful about that. The other piece
That's
too.
good marketing for them.
Yes, good marketing
Yeah.
for them. And unfortunately, a lot of food companies do that with their labeling. The other piece is it's always best, if you can, to buy your avocado oil, your olive oils in a dark glass container. Why? Because all those beautiful phytonutrients are actually sensitive to light. So if they're kept in a darker environment, you know that they're super rich in those polyphenols, all those really important phytonutrients that we need in our body.
It's important to read labels. We have become, our supermarkets are now filled with aisles and aisles in the center that have products that are shelf life stable. Shelf life stable, but on the perimeter is where I would want most of us to spend our time. Because you don't want to spend your time reading labels. So I actually don't even make it through those central aisles any longer, because as I've been reading labels, thanks to Miss Allison, thanks to coming to these classes, you know, each day is learning for me as well. I will tell you, 10 years ago, I didn't recognize the importance of food. I did. I've always been a vegetarian. My parents have always lived this way. I was very thankful for the knowledge that my parents gave me, but they didn't say, oh, you better eat your vegetables because it's going to reduce your cancer risk, and then you can have this conversation when you grow up and you're a breast cancer surgeon. My parents ate the way that they ate because of how they were taught and raised. And in India, where they grew up, there was no McDonald's, there was no grocery store. You would go every single day, get your fresh food, make it that day, and the next day, depending on what the menu was, you would go and get those vegetables. Now, it's very hard in 2024 to do that, but be mindful of those labels. And you're going to have the marketing, which will be the front label, and then what's actually on the back will sometimes be very alarming, and you'll put it right back. I've actually taught my children that.
To read the labels?
To read labels and look at ingredients lists. So if it's really long, I ask them, can you read this? And when the fruit roll-ups came up, he really wanted fruit roll-ups, my middle son, and he read the back and he goes, this is disgusting.
I love that.
Yeah.
And
You
put
get a
it
pat on the
back.
back for that, Mom.
Yes.
That's really
Thank
good.
you.
Jane, what you said is also true of extra virgin.
Correct.
So true.
And I had no idea until one of Allison's classes, and she had mentioned something, and then when I went to buy extra virgin olive oil, I flipped it around, and it wasn't all
Right.
Correct.
virgin.
You went, what is happening here?
And I thought, how can they sell this
Right.
as extra virgin.
Isn't that
It's a
something?
certain
Doesn't that kind of
percentage.
make you kind of
Wasn't
mad
just
as a
one.
consumer?
It wasn't just one. I mean, I went
Right.
right down the line, and I thought, wow,
Right.
I learned something terribly important.
And
I know.
I bet you from that, now you've even become a better label reader, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Can you
it's
go over
propelled
what this
you.
salad dressing is?
Yes.
Because that looks incredible.
So in the salad dressing, I made, I used red wine vinegar, 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard as an emulsifier, maple syrup, olive oil, and orange juice.
Ooh.
So the orange juice was optional. I really like the color. So, and I put on here that for optional toppings would be like the edamame. I have hemp seeds, which I'm going to be using on our chocolate mousse. I also have some walnuts because I love the power of walnuts. And the nutrients in that is also really good for brain health as well. So
Protein,
adding
vitamin
some
A,
extra.
the oils, the fats.
I like to.
Omega-3
Yes.
fats, and they're polyunsaturated, which are really important. We want to get unsaturated fats in our diet. Polyunsaturated, monounsaturated. Nuts contain so
And the
much
saturated fats coming from mainly from animal stuff
of that.
and all that.
Processed foods.
So there.
Hemp seeds are amazing.
And here's the dressing.
Hemp seeds are actually rich in protein.
Yes.
Which is great.
This has 10 grams of protein,
Look at
12
that.
grams of omega-3 and 6 in 3 tablespoons. So it's I'm going to make you a salad without the grapefruit.
I love hemp seeds
smells
in
so good. I
my
can't even take
smoothies.
it.
I love a good, what I call a meal smoothie that has protein, fat, and fiber in it, right? So
Pardon?
you can replace, you should have
sorry.
a protein in there, but if you don't, not big on the protein powders or some of them can bother your gut, you can use hemp seeds in place of that. And then you will get that plant protein.
Remember, it doesn't have to be in a smoothie form either. So what I
Yeah.
always do is I'll have yogurt in my fridge. My husband, instead of reaching for a sweet tooth or sweet dessert after dinner, we've gotten the Greek yogurt, the low.
That's good.
No, I don't go for low fat. I go for simple, normal, regular yogurt, and then we'll add toppings to it. So I have hemp seeds.
That's
I
great.
have flax seeds. I have chia seeds. And what I will do is I'll take a small teaspoon, put it on top, chop up fruits, and then drizzle it with honey. And he has no idea that I have just packed
Yeah.
on a ton of nutrition because it tastes good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
I do, yes, yep, I do Greek. And again, that's a great segue into this conversation. Dairy is not bad for you. It is not always bad for you. Everything in moderation is okay. It's bad dairy, eating too much of your processed cheeses, too much of maybe your processed milk. So I try to get organic milk for my children. Milk has vitamin D, vitamin A. It has fat that we need. It's a great source of calcium and protein. Yogurt has probiotics that your body needs, your gut health needs. But don't get those yogurts that have added sugars,
Right.
right? I read labels now.
Look for
I used to think,
unsweetened. That's the
Some
that's
of
the
those
key
added
phrase.
sugar ones have as much sugar in it as ice cream.
correct.
Yes.
I'd rather have ice cream.
Yes.
If I'm going to eat all that sugar in a
Yeah.
Save
yogurt,
my sugar for the
yeah.
ice cream.
Right.
So
Is there any cheese that is good?
Actually, there are. I mean, what I tend to do is I tend to have.
questions
I
about
love
cheese.
I'm a vegetarian. I will not go without cheese, but I try to pick and choose. I don't like the pre-shredded stuff. If you look at the back of it, they actually put potato starch in it. They
Yes.
have preservatives,
Anti-cake.
anti-caking. So what I
Agents,
normally do
yeah.
is I'll go to the specialty cheese section. And you can do a test. It's an expensive test. If you buy that cheese that comes in a small little area like this, and it's prepackaged, but it's fresh and it's in a block. If you put it in your fridge, it's not going to last very long. But the pre-shredded ones,
yeah,
they can be in your fridge
forever.
Ever.
Ever. Yes.
So shred your own.
Shred your own.
Freeze it in individual little baggies. Also, when you go,
Yes.
when I buy feta cheese, I'll buy the block of feta and
Exactly.
then crumble it myself.
That's what
and
I'm
you
getting
get
at.
so much more.
Yeah.
So
So
you're
much
saving
more.
so much money doing it that way.
You don't like the fat-free cheeses?
No.
No.
Again, when you have a label that says this is sugar-free, fat-free, it tells me, it's a signal to me that says you have stripped this actual food of all the nutrition and you're making it palatable and shelf life stable for me.
Yeah.
So then I read the back of it.
That's
So
so
I don't
good.
do fat-free, I don't do sugar-free,
I don't do the
normal.
I don't even
any
do
of
the
that.
vegetarian or the vegan cheeses because
No.
it's all oil.
Right.
I'm like,
And a big
It's highly
misnomer too.
Yeah.
processed.
Misnomer is that, vegan, if you're vegan, you must be healthy. Absolutely not true at
Yeah.
all. Processed foods are pro-inflammatory, all those chemicals that they're putting in there to make it palatable for you to eat.
And I think you've answered it, but somebody was asking specifically about plant-based milks because they've heard
So-
about some of the things added to that, and when
Correct.
you're trying to make that
And when
decision.
when I make my decisions for plant-based milks, I actually look at the label in the back. I look at the ingredients. If I see a lot of it's the gum gelatin
Yeah.
that they use, so it doesn't go bad, I put it back.
and
I
almost
try
all
to-
of them have it,
Correct.
unfortunately.
Correct.
Minimal ingredients.
I try to get those smaller containers. They are a little bit more expensive.
Or make your own.
Or make your own.
Yes, I can share with you, make your own milks, nut milks.
Yes.
Yeah, I can share with you some
So simple in a
cooking
blender.
demos. Yeah.
The one tip I have when you're shredding your cheese is try not to touch the cheese with your bare hands because
Take what
the
you want.
bacteria from your
Whatever
hands
you don't
can make
want,
that
we'll put it
cheese
here.
go bad faster. So what I do is I keep it in the wrapper, and when I'm shredding it,
you have
I
to
hold on only to the wrapper and I unwrap. And then I'll put it back in a Ziploc bag. So try not to handle the block, unless you're going to cook it that day. So if you're having like taco night and you've got a block of cheddar cheese and you know you're going to use all of it, go ahead. But if you're going to only use half, cut half. Don't touch the cheese because the bacteria, the normal bacteria on all of our hands, no matter how many times you wash your hands, it's a part of our normal skin, can cause the cheese to go bad faster.
That's such a great tip. Good.
And you can freeze it. Absolutely, absolutely. So I buy small pieces of cheese, I cut it in half, and I don't touch it. I put it back in the fridge, and then the next day, if the kids want, small little blocks of cheese, pepper jack cheese, which is their favorite with their broccoli, that's great. They've got their protein, they've got their fiber with their broccoli, and then they can have a little bit of their, junk food, the kids' food, a chocolate chip cookie or their little small bag of pretzels and potato chips or something like that, all balanced.
If you're somebody that's sensitive to dairy too, you can always try goat cheese or sheep cheese. Yes, it's very good for you. Again, healthy fats, some protein in there. So that's another option. And just like Allison said, buy it in the block because it's cheaper and you can get more out of it. So
And it tastes
we use
better.
these
If you do a
before?
taste test
Okay.
for like shredded mozzarella versus
Thank
fresh
you.
mozzarella, and you put it on your pizza,
yeah.
you can see how it melts differently.
No,
It
wipe
doesn't
off.
melt in one just piece
Can I
of
do anything to help?
plastic. It actually melts in different spots, so it makes a big difference.
Pardon me. All right, what do you think of the salad?
I
Yay!
love that.
And like you saw how easy it was to make that dressing. So making your own dressings at home is a great idea. And you could take a mason jar and just shake it up in your mason jar and just store that in the refrigerator.
That little gadget that you have also, is that on your website?
Yes.
Because I like that gadget where you can make your own dressing and then pass it around and then just keep that for.
Yes.
Yes.
Fun fact, last time I was here, I did purchase the
Chopper?
and it's in my, it's always there, and it keeps me sane when I'm making my Indian stews or when I'm making stews like this, or salads, or for the boys.
And
No,
the
they
kids
want
can do it too.
The
They-
kids love it.
and it's
so
like they could take out their frustrations on the chopper, you know?
It's a time saver, and it really is, and they love to help me in the kitchen when they can. But it really does make a difference when you're making a presentable salad. You're not spending hours and hours, and by the time you're done cooking, you're exhausted from just prepping for
I
your
know.
salad.
Yes. I would be
given
so
the
exhausted.
Sorry, given the talk we just had, I'm going to guess the answer is none, but somebody was asking, is there a plant-based cheese that you recommend?
I do not, I am not plant-based, I am not vegan. I do not have a plant-based cheese that I know of
I don't either.
that I
don't.
recommend.
I mean, when I looked at I shop normally at Publix, so they don't have as wide of a selection as maybe Whole Foods would, so it's limited brands. But when I was looking at, like, one of the first two ingredients was oil.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think I can have regular cheese.
I would rather have the regular cheese because the regular cheese will have the vitamin D, the vitamin A, and the calcium that your body needs, and that nutrition far outweighs any of the negatives, right? But I don't condone having just only a block of cheese for dinner, right?
Right.
I know. But in other, I have had it, and I love having it, and I will tell you, it is something that I find very interesting that in other parts of the world, it is very natural and normal to have cheese course with breakfast and after dinner as a dessert rather than a big piece of cheesecake. So,
Yeah.
What about its effects on cholesterol?
so again, balance. A small amount, and they have little, and so in other parts of the world, we don't have huge plates of cheese or we're not eating a block of cheese. It's a small amount, and it's typically paired with fruits and nuts and fiber. So remember, fiber holds on to bad cholesterol and it takes it out of your body.
Okay.
So
Yes.
everything is balanced and paired.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
it's not just the cheese. So if you're going to have cheese, if you look in France, when you go to France and you go to a restaurant, a mom and pop restaurant, or even a regular restaurant
Yeah.
there, they never have the cheese alone. Never, ever.
Yeah.
It's always paired with fruits because fruits have tons of fiber, and that fiber helps to bind cholesterol, bad cholesterol. And remember, there's good cholesterol and bad cholesterol. Your good cholesterol is increased, your HDL levels are increased when we have activity.
Right.
When we're walking, when we're moving, when we're cooking.
Yes.
Movement is mobility, movement is nourishment in the same way that food is nourishment. So
Yeah.
it's all about balance.
Yeah.
Right.
I have a question for you. So, do you use a microwave at home? Are you against microwaves?
I am not against microwaves. I am a mom of 3 boys with a full-time job. I need my microwave.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to use the microwave then, because some people are like vehemently against it.
I love how you asked it first before you're
Yeah.
like, next, we've got the microwave.
You see, I've got the Dutch oven situation over there, but it
That's
just
good.
takes forever,
Right.
and
But
I'm
I will
like,
say one thing, that when you start to cook at home like this, your microwave is not your main source
No.
of
That's correct.
cooking. Your microwave only serves to be a small aid in helping you cook. An aid. I'd never put anything in the microwave for more than 2-3 minutes at a time,
Right.
ever.
Right.
And it's only to either defrost something, but it's never for a full purposeful meal. And so I'm okay with using it as a tool, as an aid, but not for.
you mean you don't do TV dinners with the plastic in the microwave?
I can proudly say I have never in my life
Oh my
had
goodness.
a TV dinner.
I did in college. I did because I didn't know what I was doing in the
Well,
kitchen.
we didn't know.
Yeah.
But remember,
Yeah.
we were all succumbed. We all
Our food
succumbed.
information was so different back then.
Food
Totally.
information
Yeah.
and what we were told as A-OK,
Right.
we trusted these companies that they were saying, okay, lean cuisine, right?
They're telling us the
Lean
truth.
cuisine
Yeah.
was-
They want to keep us healthy. They don't want us to buy the product. They just want to keep us healthy, right?
So it's all about.
What about butter? How do you feel about butter?
So I'm okay, again, take a look at your labels, read where it's coming from. I actually make, I say but my mom makes clarified butter for me, which then I store. And clarified butter, ghee, which is commonly used in Indian cooking, doesn't go bad either. I use it so often and the flavor is so
it's so good.
incredible, but my mommy makes it for me.
That's awesome.
And I'm 44, but I do have a plant-based butter that I do use, and I do like it, and it's made with olive oil. And I use it sparingly. It doesn't last forever. It's simply used for our toast. And again, I have a big balance with my children with that. So the small little tub of my plant-based butter that I use can last a long time in the fridge, but it does not have a lot of preservatives because it's made with olive oil.
Right.
And so I tend to do that when we're cooking or I'm baking. I try to make brownies at home for the boys rather than the prepackaged things. I try to make cookies at home. They're children.
Yeah.
They need to have those things. I will use normal, regular butter, but it's controlled.
Yeah.
It's controlled.
Yeah.
And I don't buy a lot of it.
Right.
So I don't want people to think that all food is, like all those things that we all love are bad for us.
Yeah.
In moderation, make them at home rather than getting your prepackaged products. Now, the prepackaged brownie and cake mixes, your eyes will pop if you go and take a look at the labels.
I don't know about you, but I can't even pronounce some of the things
Yes.
on the back of.
Take a
if I
look.
can't pronounce it, I'm not buying it.
Yep. Please just take a look at the back of the label and you will see what's in those prepackaged elements. And the list is this long. The front says nothing, but then the back of the ingredients list is it's too much, and I've stopped.
Yeah,
10
and
years
there's so
ago, I
many
did.
great recipes that you can make with whole foods, like
Yeah.
bananas and
Yes.
yogurts and whole grain flours and berries. So I made blueberry banana bread muffins for my husband, and he's a picky eater. I talk about him all the time, but he's a picky eater. And it had yogurt in it, which he won't eat anything white unless it's ice cream or Cool
Oh my
Whip.
gosh.
And so he doesn't know, so don't tell him. But he loved them. So like,
It's got white stuff in there. It's good.
yeah, it's all good. Yeah.
I love to make a good zucchini carrot muffin.
Yes.
Oh, with almond flour
Mm-hmm.
and some eggs and vanilla extract. It is so delicious, and it's a treat. I'll tell my daughter, I'll put it in the form of like a cookie. It's really, I'm really selling the cookie. But I'll put it in the form of a cookie. I put some studded chocolate chips, like 70% dark chocolate chips in there, and I'll be
Yeah.
like, here's your cookie. Oh, this looks so good. It just came out of the oven. Now, we all know it's packed. It's got the vegetables,
Yep.
it's got almond flour, all the goodness in there.
And
So-
if you have picky eaters, then shred the skin off the zucchini or use yellow squash.
Yeah, and
I
they
have
can't
picky
tell.
boys.
Yeah.
Like, how did that happen?
Right. Right. Yes. I do that with I don't know about you, with my different types of meatballs too. If you're somebody that, does a little bit of a chicken meatball or something like that, a grass-fed beef meatball, you can put your veggies in there too.
Yes.
You don't need all of the fillers. You don't need all the
so excited
breadcrumbs,
for
all of
this.
that. You can do almond flour.
You know what
so-
I've done with that is like I bought, because we always want to add more fiber. I bought some Fiber One cereal, ground it up in a food processor, and use that as the breadcrumbs for
Oh,
my
so good.
meatballs.
Yes.
That's a great idea.
You know what I do too? Ground flax.
Oh yeah, that's a good
Boom.
one.
Ground
Yeah.
flax is so good
It's
in
hot.
meatballs. Guess what? That's
No,
your
it
flour
was hot, so-
substitute. And guess what you're getting? A ton of fiber. So delicious.
Let's take a look at this. This was the soy that you just pureed,
Yes,
correct?
it's the silken tofu. So you want to drain it, and with this recipe, you're using it at room temperature. So I had it sitting out. I added some maple syrup as the natural sweetener, no artificial stuff. And when we were talking about the artificial sweeteners, I wanted to also just point out, I literally returned to Publix this morning it was a chicken dish, and it was BOGO last week, and my husband was with me. I'm like, will you eat this for lunch? Because he always likes to go out to eat. And I'm like, stop it. So we got it, and it was from a brand that is real good. So I was like, oh, it's real good, And so I looked at it, and on the front of the box, and it had great amount of protein, great amount of net carbs. But then when I turned over the box after we ate it, and I could tell the artificial sugar in it, it had erythritol on the label. And I'm like,
Oh, no.
really? So my husband, who's picky, he didn't even like it. So I returned it to Publix. So don't be ashamed to return things back to Publix, because
There you go.
tell
I
the
love
company
that.
I don't like this.
Yeah. And it was real REEL, not REAL.
I think, yeah. I think it said, I think the brand is real good, but some of the other products they make I do like, but so I was fooled. I'm like, this is a brand I trust. Boom, getting it.
I
but
love that. That's an empowered consumer.
Yeah.
You're not going to feed me this.
No,
right?
here you go, and tell the company I hate it.
Well, the other thing is, remember, these companies are trying to make money because they're trying to mass produce and put it out there so we can buy and
Right.
they can make money.
And they can make
And
more
Fine,
money.
everybody we all have to make money, but you are responsible for what you put into your body.
Right.
So take that initiative and say, okay,
Yes.
no one is coming to me and
Right.
forcing me to eat this. I chose to put this into my body,
Right.
and make it about you and your choices,
Right.
and empower yourself. So
And another thing that the manufacturers know that if they're going to make it so that they're stripped of fiber, you are going to get hungrier sooner, and you're going to
Yes.
want more. And that serving
Blood
size
sugar
that they
roller
have on that bag of chips is tiny. You're probably going to finish the entire bag. So guess what? You're going to go back to the store and buy some more.
Right.
They don't care about your health. They care about the bottom line and their dollars.
Right.
And I actually had a private client who's a male. He worked for a big chocolate company, and he was just, I was shocked at how good of a label reader he was. I'm like, what's your history? And he was like, I used to work in food manufacturing, and it's absolutely disgusting, all the things that we add to the food just to get you to buy more. Right. And I'm like, really? You know, it's so frustrating.
I recently had a gentleman on my podcast. He worked for a big food corporation, Nabisco, but not naming any names. But anyhow, he had worked for years, and he was telling me on the podcast about how they have a food lab, and they have quote unquote scientists who are in the food lab who basically bring individuals and consumers in, and what they do is they have you taste test for flavor profile. And if it's not the right flavor profile, guess what they're adding in there? All kinds of dyes and sugar, processed high fructose corn syrup, which is like a frankenfood. We're not even sure what's in it because they won't disclose it.
Right.
But it is unbelievable. So he ended up getting an autoimmune and changed his entire life, and he could not work for a corporation like that any longer, so he left.
Yeah.
But very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Food
I in my college, we did food chemistry and food science, and I had to be a participant in some of those things for extra credit. And I'm like, this is weird, you know? Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Sorry.
No, please go right ahead. I can't wait to eat that.
Yes, this is delicious.
I have just seen in my lifetime the shift from when I was in high school to when my kids are in elementary school, where when I was in high school, going to get a bagel with cream cheese was considered fast food in the morning. And we would, get to our classes early because we had period 0. And I was just telling one of my patients that think about how when you and I were in high school, it was totally different. There was not a fast food restaurant on every single corner. There wasn't a Starbucks on every single corner. It was not that way. We didn't have birth control pills that were given. I mean, I don't recall having that conversation until I was in college. And I remember in high school, none of my girlfriends had that conversation. And now our society has shifted, everything has shifted, and it's to the point where we really have to come back to the basics.
Right.
Come back to the, it's very scary. But that's why starting early makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
So starting now, making sure that your kids, your grandkids' palate is not accustomed to junk. And they do get accustomed to it because those preservatives, they're addictive.
Yes.
In the same way that cigarettes are addictive, why is Coca-Cola so addictive? It's laced with a chemical that has been proven to be addictive. When you're addicted to something, you buy more of it, you keep buying it, and then you can't come off of it.
Yeah, I used to be addicted to Coke. My parents let me drink it. I felt
Again,
bad
we did
saying
not
that.
know.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Growing up in my teens,
Oh yeah,
Coca-Cola
I could have
was
a
like
2 liter a day.
bomb.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then after I went to college, because the fat-free world, I'm like, well, I'm going to switch to diet. So then I would literally, up until 11 years ago, I drank a 2 liter of Diet Pepsi a day by noon. Then switched to Crystal Light because I was so addicted to it. And it was funny, when I would work at the hospital and do rounds with the physicians, they knew when the sales rep came in with Diet Pepsi, that was sitting in front of me. That was my Diet Pepsi, I'm not sharing.
But you know what, Allison, you're not the only one. This story echoes on a regular basis with everyone.
Yeah.
When I first met my husband and I went to his apartment, I opened his fridge. All he had was a 24-pack case of Diet Coke.
Yeah.
There was nothing else in the fridge.
Yeah.
And in the oven was an iron. So fun. I mean, he was in New York.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Tiny apartment.
Yeah.
So he was like, I don't know where to put this.
It's storage. It's
Yeah.
storage.
It's a storage spot. And so we no longer drink Diet Coke regularly.
No.
It took me a while.
I made a line in the sand, and I started eating more whole foods, and I was like, after 6 months of not drinking, I'm like, am I really done? And I tasted it, and I was like, oh, it's disgusting. And once you start like eliminating, or I shouldn't say eliminating, I like to say crowding your plate with healthier items that are flavored with sugars that are natural, not natural flavoring, but natural real
from the earth.
From the earth. Then you don't like that hyper sweet stuff anymore, and I just really can't stand it.
It changes your taste buds.
It completely does, and I feel like because it changes your taste buds, you're now tasting the flavors of all the delicious plants. When I was having all those chemicals, this stuff wasn't as flavorful to me because I was killing my taste with all the chemicals.
Also, remember, when you have food as nutrition, your body works in unison. It is an elegant, complex process. Your entire body works together. So this whole idea of having a fake sugar, think what it does. Your brain sends a signal saying, I'm thirsty, I want to drink something, I might be a little hungry. You have your Diet Coke. Your tongue, your receptors in your mouth are saying, I'm drinking something, I am. It gets into your GI system. Your pancreas says, well, yeah, we did eat something, but I don't recognize this as a sugar. And it continues, says, you're still hungry because you didn't get any nutrition and we didn't see it. So we told you to eat. We sense that the stomach distended. We sense that food got into our gut, but the pancreas doesn't see that sugar. So guess what it does? It doesn't do what it needs to do, and it sends another signal to the brain to say, you need to eat more.
Right.
Big studies have shown that when you eat a lot of diet foods, you lose less weight. Why is that?
True.
Your body's not extracting any nutrition, and it's not sending that feedback to your brain to say, I am full, our body is full, we have the nourishment we need, we don't need to eat anymore.
Right.
This is how we overeat.
Yes, so true.
Everything in our body is auto-regulated. We just have become so insensitized to it that we've lost track. So, and a lot of our foods that are packed with the processed elements, the fake sugars, are doing that to us, and it's coming back. So, I tell my patients, if you're going to have Coke, have the regular one, and then slowly come off of it.
I know.
I'm so happy to hear that was your end statement.
Yes.
Dial it down.
So I wanted to point out with this tofu chocolate mousse, you're getting a lot of extra protein in it from the tofu. So that's going to help stabilize your blood sugars compared to having like a Cozy Shack pudding that's shelf stable in the grocery store. And
For years.
And this was so easy to make, right? You saw me do it, whip it up really fast. It was just 3 ingredients. We've got maple syrup, the silken tofu, and the chocolate. I put the chocolate in the microwave at 30-second intervals and just stirred it to make sure it didn't scorch and burn. It cooked for 1 minute, 30 seconds total. And once it was melted, I put it in there and blended it all up. So you can put it in your little individual ramekins and put it in your fridge, and you've got a nice treat.
So, Allison,
freeze it and have a popsicle.
Quick question. Do you want to make sure you use soft silken
Yes.
tofu? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make
Yeah,
sure.
the silken soft tofu that
soft
you saw me use a spoon to get it out.
Yeah.
The extra firm tofu is better for like a stir fry. So, and that I was working on a recipe for next month that I'm going to be doing with Dr. Becker, and it is a sweet and sour tofu stir fry. I actually brought
that
some of
sounds
it
good
for me
too.
to have for lunch. I wasn't sure if I'd have any left over, but apparently we have a lot. So, but I really love how tofu can take on the flavors of whatever you're cooking it with.
Yes.
So, and it makes me feel so much better when I eat that. It's just light and refreshing.
And the other thing that I would add to this is that if you wanted to change the flavor profile of this chocolate mousse, you could add a pinch of cinnamon, cardamom.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
love
use cardamom regularly because it feels so sophisticated.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Bougie spice.
It feels
Yes.
very sophisticated. It has that sort of, I'm not cinnamon, I'm not sugar, I don't know what I am, and I'm not nutmeg, but it gives you that sort of an exotic flavor, and it really is incredible. I put cardamom, a little pinch of cardamom in my coffees in the morning.
I put it in my smoothie.
Yeah.
I put cinnamon. I'll switch it up. The boys know that I have a small little thing of cardamom and cinnamon by my coffee maker, and I'll put that in there when guests come over. I put a little pinch, and they're like, "This is really amazing."
So
I'm like,
good.
"I know."
Do you
I'm
use
fancy.
the pods too?
I use
Sometimes-
pods in cooking.
Okay, I was
So
gonna say
use the
I'll
pods.
put a pod in my tea, and it's
You
so,
can do that, yeah.
it's so flavorful.
Nice.
It's just like fennel. Like I love. Oh,
You can just put that.
here. I don't know.
No.
I don't think so, right?
No.
You've got to get it. You've got to
No.
get it in a store.
Allison, there's a question for you, and I know the answer to this because of another class. Can you replace the tofu with avocado in this pudding?
Yes, and that's what I'm going to be doing next month. So come back.
That's why I just knew it.
Yes, you
That's
can.
good, too.
Yes.
But I love the tofu for the protein
Yeah.
content. I think that's an excellent way.
Yeah.
And we should not be afraid of it.
I might play around and mix half
Yeah, I was gonna
avocado,
say,
half silken tofu.
That's a
So
great idea.
We get some healthy fats and then also the protein. So maybe I'll do that for next month. I'll
And how
play
many
around.
days will this last in your fridge?
I would say probably 3. I'm weird about food.
too.
I'm ServSafe
Yeah.
certified. I'm weird about food safety and all that. But what if I didn't finish it? I would freeze it, and then you could have it like a popsicle, you
Yeah,
know,
right.
or like a soft serve ice cream, like let it thaw a little bit and have that. So
It's a nice cream.
yeah, and totally. And I deal with a lot of women who are cooking for 1 or 2 people, and I feel sometimes like I am too, because my family will not eat this, which is so frustrating. So I will be putting it in the freezer when I get home.
I don't
But-
tell my children what I'm making.
There you go. What's your chocolate pudding?
My kids, I've done that too many times. They busted
Yeah,
me,
they know. Well,
and
they
they're
know.
getting
They
too
know.
old.
I was gonna say the older ones.
Yeah,
catch on quicker.
yeah. They're like, "What's in it?" I'm like, "Just try it."
I'm going to do a quick wrap up
Okay.
for our at-home audience. So
Okay.
everyone at home, thank you for watching along. Check the the links. We'll leave it open for a couple of minutes with all the links. We'll have the
Yes.
full recording sent out to everybody that signed up. We'll send that out probably next week. So if there's somebody that you'd like to share it with that wasn't here today, it's a good video to share with folks.
And opt into my newsletter if you'd like to get the links to my favorite kitchen gadgets. I also have a transitioning to a plant-powered diet mini courses coming up, so you can get on the wait list for interest about that. And I send you a Tasty Tuesday recipe each week. Not all of them are vegetarian. There are some animal protein recipes in there as well, so I just wanted to point that out. I do eat some animal meat, but I'm more plant-focused. So that's in the option.
And I put a link to Dr. Saigal's website as well in the chat. And Jane, do you want to give a plug for your podcast right here? What's the name of it?
Well, you can go to janewilliams.com.
JAYNE.
JAYNE, yep, Williams.com. And I've got all kinds of goodies on my website. And of course, my podcast is Elevated Wellness. You can find it all the places you can find podcasts, Apple, Spotify, all that good stuff. And make sure to check out my recent episode with Dr. Saigal. It's an incredible episode. So
Nice.
absolutely. And we're going to get Allison on too. She's
That would be
coming
awesome.
on next.
And of course, the
That was
last
fun.
word, go to yourhealthandwellbeing.org to sign up for all of our great programs here at the
Yes.
Center for Health and Wellbeing, including, like we said, next month, Dr. Ariana Becker, who is a lifestyle medicine physician who's here in the building.
fabulous.
Allison and her are doing Whole Foods for Whole Health. It's going to be a great session.
I like
and
it.
in June, Rothman Orthopedics will be here with Allison to talk about cooking for bone health.
Yes.
That's
so
awesome.
lots of great programs coming up. So we hope to see everybody here soon.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
as all women in this room, bone health cannot be emphasized enough.
Yes.
Yes.
And movement. And so I'm so glad you're
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's really incredible.
Yeah.
Small movements make a big impact.
Yeah. And
Food makes an impact.
sleep on walking. Walking is definitely awesome. Zone 2 cardio, walking at a
Yeah.
fast pace. Go here.
Yep.
If you don't want to go outside in the heat,
Yep.
it's
And as we age, I've learned that, long gone are those days where I could run. I used to run 5 miles in the morning and 5 miles at night.
oh my
Wow,
gosh.
that's impressive.
That was my way to sort of decompress from surgical training.
Yeah.
And I was very fit. But I also didn't have the demands of 3 children and a full-time job. In training, it's a different sort of mindset. And I, fast forward to now, in the last couple of years, I've sort of become even more cognizant with health and wellness as I'm counseling my patients, as I'm developing my practice, as I'm learning and seeing more when it comes to cancer prevention. And what I've noticed that as we age, so does the need for what kind of activity levels you need.
So true.
And how your body is able to balance the two. My personal experiences, I thought that I could just go back to being really intense with my workout and I would be fine. Well, when I did that, I realized that I just didn't feel well. I felt more bloat around my belly. I felt more joint pains. My knees were hurting. My back was hurting. And so I took a step back and I said, I have to figure this out. And what I recognized was that my cortisol levels were super high after those intense workouts. My body was sensing and recognizing the two systems, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic system. And my body was saying, oh, she's running away from a tiger. So the cortisol levels were high. Cortisol causes you to have that bloat. It can cause inflammation. And I wasn't giving myself and my body enough time for that level to come back down, rescue the body, and then go back.
Yeah.
So I learned that over the last couple of months,
So
how
important.
I respond.
Yes.
I have actually lost 4 pounds by not doing those intense workouts, by giving my body a break.
So
But I've been monitoring, not today because I was in the operating room, monitoring how many steps I get. And at the end of the day, if I've had 3 or 4 good days where I've done a really intense workout where I'm sweating, and then the other couple of days I've got 10,000 steps, I've lost 3 pounds.
Yeah.
That's,
Yep.
Wow, that's great.
Yes.
That's
My
so
body
important.
inflammation
Yeah.
is down.
Yes.
I don't have the joint pains. And as a surgeon,
Yeah.
I don't want to feel like I can't.
You're on your feet.
I'm on my feet.
Hours
Yeah.
and
But
hours.
then to be able
And
to
to do-
operate,
yeah.
I don't want that back pain. So that's why I took that step. I did that in October for my birthday.
Yeah.
And I said, this is not working for me. So I reanalyzed everything. Of course, my cerebral brain went right to why. Why did this work when I was 20? Oh, I didn't have 3 boys in a
Yeah.
full-time job.
Your life was different. Your
Yeah.
body
Slightly
was different.
different,
Yes,
Right.
yeah.
You know, I had to take a step back and say, okay, this is what's changed. Let's see what works for me. And I'm so pleasantly happy with how the balance has really affected me in a positive way.
that.
Yeah.
And again, it wasn't that I was eating junk. I was not.
Right.
I was limiting what I was eating.
Right.
It was the too much.
Yeah.
So don't
Excess.
underestimate the power of walking.
Yeah.
I love that.
And
That's
I
so
did.
good.
There's an app called the Step Bet. I love it. It tells you based on your current activity what your 4 days a week, what your minimum goal of steps are. 2 days a week are your power steps, and 1 day is the step rest day. You bet on yourself, $40. And at the end of the 6 weeks, if you're still standing, whoever else is still standing, you split the pot.
That's great.
You're not going to get rich.
Yeah.
I mean, I've gotten like $3 to $8,
Right.
but I've gotten rich because I'm actually moving.
Yeah.
I love that.
And the weeks that it's warm-up week and it doesn't really count, barely meeting my goal. And so whatever it takes to get you to actually do it. And sometimes I'm like, okay, it's after dinner, which is a good time to walk after you eat a meal,
Excellent,
because it helps stabilize your blood sugars. But I'm like, all right, I got to walk a couple miles. Let's go on a walk.
Bet on myself.
You know?
I gotta get this done.
And I like to listen to audiobooks or podcasts.
Same.
And if it's like a juicy audiobook that I don't normally listen to, because usually I'm listening to nutrition or personal development. But if it's like a juicy one, I'm like, I can only listen to this when I'm walking.
Yeah.
And guess what? I finished that book in 3 or 4 days
Yes.
because I want to get out there and listen to it. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that's great.
I think that the mindset should also change for diet and nutrition. I don't say the word diet because I don't believe in diets.
Right.
I do not. I believe in lifestyle changes. I do not believe in just eating a keto diet or a
Right.
whole grain, I only eat berries on Monday through Wednesday
Yeah.
diet.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
It is
Starvation
not,
diet,
it
Yeah.
is
all kinds
not
of diets.
sustainable.
No.
It's not sustainable. So I believe in balance and 80-20 rules. You know, we're going to go to birthday parties. We're going to have big celebrations. You can't control everything that you eat. But your body will tell you, I only need a little bit of this.
Yeah.
Because 6 out of the 7 days, I have been packing it with such nourishment that it doesn't even want this.
Right.
So I had my taste and I'm good and I can move on from that. So it's all about balance.
That's great.
What do y'all say to your patient or your client who's a smart, educated with a person who just will not see the relationship between food and health?
I'm still working on it at home.
Me too. As my husband, I just got an alert. My husband left to go probably eat fast food. Yes, I'm working on it too.
However, I have taken baby steps, small steps,
Right.
right? I have taken small steps. We have gone from Diet Coke only in the fridge to not having any Coke in the fridge at all. We have gone from I've never had water in my life to I have a big cup now where I drink on a regular basis.
Yes.
But when I talk about mindset, I think what I talk about at home is I don't want to be a burden for my children.
Right. You don't want to
I
have a
want
health
to grow
crisis
up.
to
Look
make
at
a
the
change.
I
future.
want my
Yeah.
children to say, my mom is so healthy that she can now help me with my kids. And this family vacation that we're planning, I don't have to worry about my mom not being able to walk.
Yeah, that
or
I just
go through the airport.
Yes.
That's what I'm looking at now as my parents age. And again, I have so many different instances in my life. My mother was diagnosed with cancer, which is why I do what I do and the life choices I made. But her cancer diagnoses came as a huge shock to all of us. And she was able to go through that. And she gained weight on chemotherapy, which very few people do. She would go to her chemotherapy infusions, and all the nurses and doctors would say, Mrs. Sharma, why are you always so happy and why are you doing so well during your treatment? And she said, well, I'm doing this because I need to be alive for my children. And then she would pause and she goes, I have 3 unmarried daughters and an unmarried son.
She has work to do.
She's a doctor, she's an engineer, he's an engineer. Any takers? Oh my God, wow, Mom. But
Gotta love Mom.
she used nutrition during her chemotherapy, which is why she was never hospitalized. Just one time after a fluke. Just one time, but not because she was ill or because her blood and her body couldn't handle it, but because she nourished herself between every treatment. My father had smoothies that he would make for her every morning with wheatgrass juice. My aunt would come and make stews like this because when the palate wasn't there to eat food, she made smoothies and had protein during her entire treatment. And I remember on the last day, she got on the scale and she's like, what? 12 pounds? Who gains weight on chemo? But she didn't lose weight. She was never hospitalized, and she's still cancer-free.
That's amazing.
That's excellent.
Absolutely
So
incredible.
nutrition is what helped. We couldn't prevent the cancer. I can't prevent a cancer from coming. I can, however, minimize the impact that cancer may have, right?
Absolutely.
So I wish I could. I mean, we can prevent some cancers, lung cancers caused by smoking, but when we can't prevent it, whatever life may bring, if you prepare your body for it, you will be better equipped and have a better outcome.
I always say we can absolutely minimize risk.
You can minimize your
Because
risk.
that is what we can control,
Yeah.
right?
So-
what we put in our mouths, how we live our life.
Yep.
Yeah,
And worrying about the things that you have no control over adds stress.
that's right.
Adding stress increases cortisol.
That's right.
Cortisol causes inflammation. So worry about the things that you have control over. What are you putting into your body, and how much movement have you made that day?
Yeah.
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 You're very
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
good. Good.